One of the most memorable characteristics of the modern conception of the vampire is that of fangs. In media, fangs come in many forms, from the more traditional elongated canines of Dracula to the more updated configurations of Interview with a Vampire or True Blood. Fangs within the real vampire community have been viewed differently by different groups through different eras. There was a time when fangs were seen as garish in the groups that sought more serious mainstream recognition, seeing it as too close to role-playing. Clan Sabretooth, however, heavily encouraged getting fanged as a rite of passage and as a means to express one's true self. Today the sentiment is somewhere comfortably in the middle, with there being much less animosity towards lifestylers and those wishing to express their inner nature through aesthetic. I have noticed significant interest in fangs within the membership of Project V lately, and without too much of a history lesson, I want to discuss fangs as they relate to the vampire identity, archetype, and practicality. I will be primarily focusing on the modern image of the vampire as it has become largely divorced from its folkloric origins. The vampires of today's zeitgeist have evolved into suave supernatural predators far removed from their role as the restless, hungry dead. In regards to the role fangs play in vampire identity, I don't think it's something that can be understated. Virtually every media representation of vampires portrays them as having some type of fangs that they use for feeding on the blood of others. The utilitarian aspect aside, the elongated teeth of the predator evoke something primal in us, and being able to adopt this trait for ourselves can be very empowering indeed. Acquiring fangs, either permanent or removable, definitely helps us connect to the overarching vampire current and archetype that many of us relate to and seek to embody in one way or another. This was the reason why having custom fangs made was considered a transformative experience by Clan Sabretooth. It was literally a rebirth into one's new vampire identity. Examining the archetype of the vampire goes a step beyond that of identity. The archetypal vampire is powerful, dangerous, and predatory, but also sensual, thoughtful, and transformative in a variety of ways. The vampire is transhumanist, an immortal being with abilities surpassing humanity, yet born from humanity. The predatory drive can be a scalpel rather than a meat grinder, used to curate greatness and common good. Sensuality and deep thought taken to preternatural levels reinforces what it means to be human in the first place. The vampire is the human condition taken to the extreme, and a lens through which we can view and process our own experiences. Adopting fangs is one way to connect with and access the power of the vampire with a kind of sympathetic magic, like donning a mask or animal skin to connect with spiritual forces. As for practicality, fangs are really not that practical beyond appearances. The vast majority of removable prosthetic fangs are not suitable for eating with, let alone biting to draw blood. For those with interest in having permanent fangs done by a cosmetic dentist, I would still argue that they aren't practical for feeding purposes. Even for sanguinarians, there isn't much utility in having functional fangs because the damage done to the donor from a bite wound has potential to cause serious injury and legal complications. Fangs might have a practical use if you're into kink, but for actual feeding, they are not a necessity and may even be a liability. So with all this said, do you need fangs to be a vampire? Only if you think you do. Speaking from experience, they can be very empowering, but they can also be a concern in the back of the mind. Removable fangs need to be cared for and can restrict eating and influence speech. Permanent fangs require specialized fitting and bonding by a professional and may make it very hard to blend into dayside life. These concerns will have to be addressed and balanced by every individual that seeks the look and feel that having fangs can provide. I think that the key takeaway here is that whether you get permanent fangs, removable fangs, or no fangs at all, you can still be vampire.